Good morning, everyone. My name is Miss Teresa, and today we're going to continue our lessons on hair color. Who remembers last week when we learned how to do a virgin tint application? Thank you. Today we're going to continue that lesson with tint retouch application, because once you've initially given the client that beautiful color, in a couple of weeks her hair is going to start to grow. In about 4 to 6 weeks, she's going to be coming back to see you because now she has new growth and she's going to want you to maintain that. So the lesson today, the tint retouch application, is going to teach you how to do that and get it on her new growth only. We're going to be using a mop solution today with the bowl and brush method. And while doing so, we're going to follow all of our safety and sanitation rules that have been set forth to us by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations. Does anyone have any questions yet? No? Okay. So I have listed here on my flip chart the tools and materials that we're going to be using. And I'm going to go over those with you. First we have the mannequin and tripod. My mannequin's name is Debbie, and she stands on the tripod. I also have with me 2 towels and a drape. I have butterfly clips to secure her hair with. I have a hand sanitizer to sanitize my hands with. I have hospital grade EPA disinfectant that I use to sanitize my surfaces with, which I did before I set up. I have a protective cream that I'm going to put around Debbie's hairline to make sure that she doesn't get stained by the color. I also have with me protective gloves to make sure I don't get stained by the color. My mop solution that I'm going to use today is a conditioner. We have available for you here at the school a gel, cholesterol. You can mix them together, you can use them individually, whatever you're comfortable with. And like I said, we're going to use the bowl and brush method. I also have brought today with me a client record card. The client record card is invaluable to you as a stylist in building a clientele. You're going to gather some information from your client, their name, their address and their phone number, email address, Twitter account, whatever venue you use, and you're going to record all that on her card. You can find out her allergies, her hobbies, her occupation, any little side note that helps you in your consultations, finding out what she needs. On the back of these cards, you list the services that you perform on her. With haircut, color, perms, you want to make sure you take notes of those and write down specifics. What kind of haircut? What's your color formulation? Which perm ride did you use? Put dates. Put the amount of money that they spent on that service. Keep all that for your records. I also brought with me a client release form. Most corporate salons will require you to fill one of these out on each client. If you're in an individual private booth rental situation, you want to make sure that you have drawn up some of these release forms for yourself. These release forms can help you if the need arises in case of a lawsuit. It's never happened to me. It's never happened to anyone I know, but it's always good to be safe. I've also brought with me, because we use the Well of Professionals color line, I brought with me the manufacturer's directions for the Colesson color that we use here in the school. And I brought for you guys some handouts, and I'll give to each one of you. The handouts basically are the same thing that's on the flip chart, but you will be able to take notes on the handouts if you like. I also put on the handout an actual 1/4 inch measurement for you to use when you're on the clinic floor working on your Debbie to give you a reference to. Anybody have any questions about the tools or any of the materials that I brought before I move on? No? Okay. So the application process goes as this. We're going to start off with our safety and sanitation first. Safety is always first, right? So McKenna, can you tell me, before I can even bring my client to my chair, what I must do first? That's right. We're going to sanitize the surface. We're going to make sure that all of our implements are clean and sanitized. And we're going to sanitize our hands. Next, once I've gotten the client into my chair and I'm talking to her, I'm going to do a scalp analysis. Tony, can you tell me why it's so important that I do a scalp analysis? That is correct. You want to make sure that your client doesn't have any scalp abrasions, open sores, or skin disorders. So while you're doing your consultation, you can casually part the hair and be looking at it while you're talking to your client in the mirror. And, just pretend like you're watching it move around to see how the hair falls, what it's going to look like. But at the same time, pay close attention to the scalp as you're doing this. Part it off in bigger sections or whatever. Just whatever you do, don't make the client feel uncomfortable. You need to see their scalp, but you don't want them to think, oh my gosh, there's something wrong up there. You don't want to get right on top of it. Just make it very casual, and it's protect you and the client. Sometimes the clients don't even know that they have a scalp abrasion. They bump their head and they don't know that there's a sore there. So you're protecting them as well, because the chemical would have a bad reaction to that open wound. Also, if the client has a contagious disorder, you're protecting yourself that you don't catch that. So you would need to advise them of it, and they would go see a professional, a dermatologist, to take care of that issue. Once those issues have been taken care of, the scalp abrasions have healed, then your client can come back in and get the service done. All right, so we've done our scalp analysis. Then next step before our sanitation is to drape Miss Debbie. So I'm going to do what is called a chemical drape. And Sarah, can you tell me what a chemical drape is? That is correct. It is a towel first, and then the drape, and then the towel on top of the drape. So I'm going to put wrap the towel around Miss Debbie's neck, hold it and make sure it's secure. Cape. Make sure it's snug around her neck. Debbie's neck's a little skinny, so make sure it's nice and snug. Let's try this again. Might have got it a little off-centered. Alright, then I'm going to put the next towel on top of that. So Debbie is nice and protected. Her clothing is protected. Color's not going to get on anything. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my client to remove her jewelry and put it away in a safe place, because sometimes these chemicals can have a pretty adverse reaction with the metal that's in the jewelries. I'm going to take sanitize my hands first. And then I'm going to apply this protective cream around her hairline. You want to make sure that you apply it just to the skin. So I'm going to apply this on her skin all the way around, making sure that I do not get it in her hair, because it is a protective cream. Protective cream is going to create a barrier. So if I accidentally get this in her hair, the color will not be able to penetrate, and then that little spot of her hair won't take the color. So you just want to go around the hairline. Also, Also, you want to make sure you put a little bit on the top of their ears, because sometimes when we're applying color, it can get a little messy and the strands fall down and land on top of the client's ear, and then you get color. So make sure you put some cream on top of your ear as well. Oh well. Alright. Then I'm going to part her off into 4 sections. Typically with any tint application, you're going to use 4 sections. Sectioning off the hair first keeps it more organized. So you're going to part it off from center, front to back, and then side to side over the ear. Secure that out of the way with a clip. I'm not going to clip up this back section, one of the sections in the back, because that's where we're going to start at. So I'm not going to clip it up. Just going to clip these to get them out of the way. I'm going to start back here in the right back quadrant, because that's typically the most resistant area on the head. So we want to make sure that the chemical has that much longer to process and work in that area. So I put some mock solution here in my bowl. It's pretty thick, so it acts really well as mock solution for these applications. Alright, I'm going to put on my protective gloves. And I'm going to start applying. If I could get you guys to come up and stand around so you could see really well what I'm doing and exactly what size, what a 1/4 inch subsection looks like. Yes. Make sure you all can see. So I'm going to gather the hair in my hand, kind of keep an eye on this section. I'm going to get some of the mock solution onto my brush, and then I'm going to apply it to the new growth only. Typically the new growth is anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So I applied it on the top section there, and now I'm going to slice out the 1/4 inch subsection, which is pretty small. Alright, so I've got that 1/4 inch subsection, and then I'm going to get more product and apply to the new growth only on the back side. Tori, can you tell me exactly what new growth is? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. It is the new virgin hair that has grown out since you last colored your client's hair. Kiri, can you explain to us why it's so important to put it on a new growth only? That's right. Because if you overlap the color onto the previous color, you're going to create a line of demarcation. And that won't be very pretty. So you want to try to get it just on a new growth. You're going to take it from the scalp area up to where the previous color stops. So I'm working my way down this section. Does anybody have any questions so far? Everyone can see? Alright, good. Try to apply this quickly. You want to be as quick as you can, but you also want to make sure that you're applying it neatly. You don't want to get color everywhere. But you want to be pretty fast. You want to get it on there pretty quickly and pretty fast, because it's already processing on that first area that you've applied it to. So you don't want it to be finished processing before you've finished applying the color. little bit down this section because I think since you've had the virgin tint application lesson, you have a pretty good idea of how to apply that color to the actual hair. I just really wanted you guys to see the size of the subsection that I'm using and where I'm putting the color. And you can see I'm only putting it on like the 1/2 inch from the scalp. We consider that the new growth area. So once I finished applying, another step that's very important that we also went over last week is bumping our subsections. Sarah, can you remind us why it's so important on Debbie, but not on a client, to bump our subsections? That's right. Because when you are at the PSI taking your state board exam, your proctor is going to want to make sure that you know what a 1/4 inch looks like or what a 1/2 inch subsection looks like. So you have to be able to bump that section and make it stand up so that your examiner and proctor can see the subsections that you've created. So this is the last little section I'm going to do, and then we'll move on. So here I go. You take the brush and you bump the section. And you grab your next one and you bump the section. You want to bump each section separately all the way back up. Because you want to be able to see the separation. You want your examiner to be able to see your separation. Now when you're doing a client, it's not necessary for you to bump it. Because your client doesn't know that you're supposed to be using 1/4 inch subsections, so it really doesn't concern them. And it would take more time, and you don't have that kind of time when you're working with that chemical. So you don't have to do that when you're doing a client. But in the school, while you're practicing your TDR mocks, we want to see you bump those sections. And I'm almost to the top. Alright, so you can see, looking from the side of Debbie here, you can see each one of my little subsections that we created, right? You can see those? Yes. Awesome. Alright, so we've got the chemical applied to our client. Once I finish this section, I would continue around the head clockwise until I finished here, and then I would set my timer and she would process according to the manufacturer's directions. Alright, so let's say we have reached our desired level. She is processed. Now we're going to escort Miss Debbie over to the shampoo bowl, and we're going to rinse her hair with warm water until the water runs clear. And then we'll shampoo her with a color-safe non-strip shampoo. Rinse her again with warm water to make sure we've gotten all the suds out. Towel dried her really well, and then wrapped her in the turban style wrap and shown her back to our station. Now, Tony, once we've shown her back to our station, do we continue with our services? Do we finish the services on her? Or do we go back and clean up and sanitize the shampoo area? That's most definitely correct. We get her comfortable in the chair and we let her know, hey, we'll be right back. And you go over there and you clean up your mess at the shampoo area, spray your EPA spray and disinfect the bowl and disinfect the chair. So that either if you're sharing bowls with other stylists in the salon, they bring their client up, that bowl is nice and clean and ready for them. Or if it's just you in your booth rental place, then your shampoo bowl is ready for you on your next client, and they don't have to stand there and wait for you. All right, we've cleaned up our shampoo and everything. We come back to our client, we finished our services. We want to make sure at that point we update our client card. We're going to write down that we did a color, we did a tint retouch on our client. This is our color formula. This is the date. This is the amount of money that she spent today. You know, you want to make sure you add, did she get a haircut? Did you do a deep conditioning treatment? And then add up all those prices and put a total next. That way it helps you keep a track of the sales that you do as well. Does anyone have any questions on the application process? No questions? Okay, so we're going to go over a quick summary review. And then I'm going to have some questions for you guys. Alright, so learning how to properly apply tint retouch, we, yes, followed all safety and sanitation rules. We disinfected, we sanitized our hands, we used protective gloves, we used protective cream on the client. We used the correct drape. We followed the manufacturer's instructions. And also, don't forget, we disinfect the shampoo bowl. Alright, also we learned the importance of a client release form. We're going to save ourselves from lawsuit, right? First of all, we're not going to get ourselves in that predicament, but in case we do, we have a backup. While we were doing our consultation, we did a scalp analysis. We made sure our client had no open abrasions that would get irritated by our chemical. And we also made sure she had no skin disorders that would infect us as a stylist. Next, we started our application using the 1/4 inch subsections. We applied it to the new growth only, being careful not to overlap onto the previously colored hair. Once the desired level was reached, we escorted her to the shampoo bowl, rinsed her with warm water until the water has run clear, shampooed her with a non-strip color-safe shampoo, rinsed again and towel dried, and turbaned her with a towel. After that, we escorted her back to our seat. We returned to the shampoo bowl to sanitize and clean up, and then finally we updated our record card. Anyone have any questions? Pretty straightforward. Almost the same exactly that we learned last week. It was just that we only put it on the new growth, right? Everything's still the same. Okay, so the questions that I have for you are, I'm going to ask them individually to each one of you. Tony, can you tell me how many sections we used? That's correct. We used 4 sections. McKenna, what size subsections did we use? Awesome, thank you. That was a 1/4 inch subsections, she said. Kyrie, what should a client fill out before you begin every service? Awesome, yes, the client release form and the client record card. That's awesome, thank you. Sarah, where do we apply the color? Yes, to the new growth only. And Tori, which direction around the head do we work? When we finish our first section, which direction do we go? That's right, we go clockwise around the head. That's awesome. Thank you guys. This has been an awesome class. You guys were so attentive. You answered the questions all correctly. I know that you are all going to be wonderful colorists one day. I do have a follow-up assignment for you. I would like for you, once you've left the class and you go out onto the salon clinic floor, I would like you to pull your Debbies out, get some mock solution, get your bowl and brush, and I want to see you reenact what I've done today. I want to make sure that you understand the size of the subsections, where you're supposed to be putting the product, and also that you bump each one so that I can see them. All right? Thank you so much, guys, and you have a great rest of your day.